we are in the ace match. Ace match, if you got it, guys. What's funny in the top left side of the map? It's going to be the Red Zerg player, Team Liquid Snute. Woo! Not taking a gold base, worth noting. Bottom right, we got the Blue Terror player, Alteria. But again, better known as MajOr. And again, just going over bets really quick for all of you to hear. Where did I save those? Here we go. Bets are 11,083 partoos on Snute, 4,007 on MajOr. So if MajOr wins, it's going to be an upset. If Snute wins, it's going to be a decent payday. But if MajOr wins this, you guys are going to lose out on quite a bit of cash. I will say this. I'm cheering for Snute. You guys know I love Snute. I can't shut up about Snute. But I would really like to see, I think, MajOr versus Nurtio in the finals. I think that personally would be a really cool finals. But whether we actually get that or not, that's we'll have to wait and see. But as far as openings go, MajOr not going to go with something super cheesy. Just decides to be a little bit more standard. Seeing a factory come down is always great. Already has the natural base as well on the way, so not one basing this by any means. Not exactly a ton of one base builds for Terran out there right now, but we have seen some people try and make them work. The Reaper will get across the map to scout. It's going to tango with the Lings for a little bit. See first blood in a moment, one way or the other. Okay, so, so we're just thinking of stretch there really quick. As far as this goes, again, reminding you guys that the top half of the bracket is going to play out without us. Normally, I would ask to cast both semifinals, but honestly, oh, excuse me, I'm a little bit already winded from the solo cast. I think I'm actually a little bit sick in the first place. I know my ears have been bugging me these last couple days. I don't want to push it too hard. So we are going to let the top half of the bracket play out on its own. Unfortunately, that means we will not be casting those matches. But we will find the winner of this fighting what is most likely Tefl. I don't know. We'll take a look at the brackets after it's all said and done. But I would be, as much as I just finished gushing and saying it'd be cool to see a MajOr versus Nurtio finals, I would also be cool seeing Snute, because Snute's got really good TvZ, and let's be honest, top half of the bracket is going to be Zerg, no matter what. Reaper hops up top of the cliff. Down at home, though, I mean, a Banshee comes out next with Cloak. This is a little, I'd say, unconventional, but not unheard of anymore. I'm liking that Banshees are coming back in the matchup. They're a lot more effective than their Liberator counterparts when it comes to kills. Not nearly as effective as say, economic damage, though, because sometimes Banshees can't get those kills, whereas the Liberators will deny entire mineral lines.
First blood. First blood.
Alright, Hellions are going to try and get up the ramp, but the Queens are actually going to block this out very nicely, so not going to happen, unfortunately. For MajOr, still, though, coming across the map with even more Hellions. I mean, for Snute, this is a big thing to recognize. It sucks that he wasn't able to take advantage of this through something like a Nidus Worm. Again, Hellion openers are just so bad right now because of the threat of what comes up afterwards. But that Banshee should get us some pretty good damage done, I imagine. She's with the army, though, so not looking to sneak around. Maybe looking to take a head-on engagement. I was expecting to see an armory finish or something to get those Hellbats in, but no, MajOr's just kind of come in and try and do some brute force damage. Now, the thing is, if he kills the Queens, then the Banshee has free reign. If the Banshee gets ignored, it goes to the mineral line, gets some kills over there, too. But the best-case scenario would have been those Hellions getting to the mineral line and frying up the drones. However, Snute's defense is pretty solid. He loses 0 workers through this, and even manages to get his gold base third established. That Banshee gets pushed back, and honestly, this was a good defense. For MajOr's sake back at home, though, Stim's on the way. He's looking to advance forward. I think he was banking on getting a lot more damage done with what he has on the field. These Hellions are already all damaged and hurt. The Banshees are 2. They can't take on 3 Queens. There are more than 3 Queens lurking around. Got a new sub, Rootfly. That's weird, that didn't come up in chat, but I got the notification for it. Rootfly! So shoot, I might as well sub. Sigh. Rootfly, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. By the way, of course, we will be sending out replay packs from this tournament to our subscribers, so you guys can look forward to that as well. Big loves and gratitudes once again. Nidus Worm detected, and Nidus Worm is coming down from Snute to take advantage of this situation. We've been following the Banshees around watching their damage, but MajOr perhaps did not see this coming, and as the Banshees rush back home, This Overlord is becoming an Overseer for detection. There's nothing in the Night Storm right now. It's a little bit awkward. When the Queens come out, they're going to be the anti-air. They're going to be the transfuses that's necessary to keep this alive. And I think Snute may have just done it. MajOr caught off guard by this in a pretty bad way. Now, unfortunately for Snute, MajOr SimCity is going to keep him from really pushing in, and now the tank comes out, this becomes a little bit easier for MajOr to hold. But still, losing the engineering base is going to be pretty tough. That's very important tech. That's 1-1 out the door. Opens up the doorway to if Snute wants to just push through. Banshee's getting poked away at. There's a bunker down. It's just a pretty good response. Snute's losing a lot of these roaches in that tank, just shelling away for the back lines. But those Queens might just be what he needs to break this. There's not a lot left. Now, he does decide to fall back into the Night Storm. That's not a bad option because Snute doesn't really have a lot left to work with right now. Some Lings did sneak into the natural base while this goes on. But this was a really weird situation for MajOr where he didn't get obliterated by this attack, but he did feel the burn. He's down to 35 workers. He took some losses, and for Snute's sake, didn't have to cost too much. It was roaches primarily. Another new sub coming in with Zermi. Zermi_. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, my good friend Zermi. Well, new to be a good friend. Anyone who's a subscriber to the channel is a good friend to me. That brings us up to a grand total of 710 subscribers. So we are 10 over the goal for today. That is fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you all for being awesome, grand people. Now, the push out of MajOr, once again, a little bit awkward. The Ravagers, they're not armored units, so the Marauders aren't going to be super effective, but they can take hits, which is always nice. Roaches coming in a little bit before the rest of the army. Bit of a problem, maybe. Loads up the medevacs. This is a problem when you go anything Roach Ravager centric. You don't really have a lot of anti-air. Picking off the medevacs is not so easily done. Sorry, the audio probably got a bit weird to scratch in my ear. So stopping units from being picked up in the medevacs and just running away is usually not something you can do. As you see, he picks up once again. Starts to fly away. Drop came down towards the main, but looks like it did get picked off by the Queens, and the Spore Crawler are alike, so the medevac dies. The Roaches and Ravagers were not really here in time to respond initially. These 4 Roaches are actually barely going to kill a Marauder. Not a great trade. Not a great trade, but not a terrible situation either. That medevac is so bloody low. Oh no, it's just energy gone. Sorry, that was his health bar above it. I was like, damn, that thing's on like 1 health already. But yeah, Ravagers on both sides of this. If the medevacs are not paid attention to for even a second, he could lose them. Like what was about to happen. MajOr just kind of scooching to the side. We got a Marine push starting to come down the middle of the map, but this is that composition we were talking about earlier. Kind of mentioned Nurchia with a name drop saying made him popular, or he made it popular. Roach, Ravager, Infestor. Now, Snute's one of these guys who doesn't seem to be of the opinion that pathogen glands is worthwhile. There are some very actually logical reasons why you wouldn't want to go pathogen glands, but I feel like if you're going to go more than 4 Infestors, it's probably going to be worth it. These Infestors are also going to pop and not be able to pop off fungal growth right away, which will be another small problem. MajOr is just going to... He's going to see the Infestors and skirt around this. So he's not going to have to split his attention and split his forces to defend. Gold base is under attack once again. Drones are starting to bleed out. And these Infestors do not really have the energy to get those shots off yet. Keep in mind, if he lands a fungal growth, the corrosive biles are almost guaranteed to hit the medevacs afterwards. So it can be devastating if he lands them, but sometimes easier said than done. I do love the way Snute has partitioned and split his units across the map, though. A couple of Infestors here, a couple of Ravagers there, all split to try and defend this. Now, these ones do have the energy for fungal growth. If he's not paying attention, yep, there's that fungal going off. The Infestor lives to see another day. We do have the big march of units in the middle of the map, though, and this is where corrosive bile is going to be really necessary. It's one thing to land the fungal growth and get a bit of damage done in AoE. That's cool. Bit of dot damage, I guess you could call it. But honestly, without the corrosive bile followed up, not going to be that great. Now, tanks, on the other hand, I didn't realize MajOr had bulked up some tanks while this was going on. This is going to be huge. Tanks versus roaches, we've all seen the effectiveness, but tanks also zone out infestors. People tried to make tanks a thing back when infestors and broodlords were becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Never obviously worked, but it does keep the infestors back. There's no question about that. So this tank line is going to be really nice. Snute's got the infestors on the wrong side of this. 3 of them die immediately. But that's not going to be good, but MajOr just sits in the Corsair Files, equally not good, but the tanks have nothing to threaten them. There's no Lings running from behind, there's no Roach flank. Snute's not even kiting backwards through this. He takes on the Bioforce, a decent enough engagement, but can he stop the tanks? Corsair Files on top of 2 of the tanks. No scooping from these medevacs to save them. Snute might just be starting to overwhelm a little bit, but MajOr's got the supply lead. He's got the numbers on his side, but he's lost a lot of his effectiveness through those tanks. However, Snute's starting to run out of units himself. He doesn't have any infestors on these front lines. No fungal growth's coming into effect. Even hitting some of his own roaches with Corsair Files, getting a little bit desperate. Those Corsair Files take out a good chunk of the medevacs, so they start swinging the battle around. While Snute goes on with this, he's got reinforcements through roaches. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried for Snute despite winning this engagement, because he doesn't have a lot of effective supply behind this, right? Like, cool, you're making roaches, but that's not Ravagers. He doesn't have a lot of drones in these mineral lines. In fact, he's transferred pretty much everything to these gold bases between the 2 of them. Wait, actually, there should be more drones than there are. Or maybe it just looks that way. Either way, Snute's main's pretty much mined out, so it makes sense to not have a lot of drones here, but the natural base is still looking plump and juicy, whereas these golds are starting to mine out. And I guess that's kind of the weird thing. We look at Snute live through these engagements barely, and that's through the, I guess you could call it, surge of adrenaline that the gold base provides. But as these gold bases mine out and Snute's forced to transition back into normal income bases, he might not be able to keep affording this. Whereas MajOr, who had taken a normal income base first, now expands towards more golds. He's going to be the one surging, and the economy in this game is going to shift heavily in his favor. In fact, it has been for quite some time. Oh, Jesus, this whole income graph for the last 6 minutes has been all MajOr and more MajOr. Snute's APM is going bananas right now. I saw that too, guys, spiking like 800 up here. That's insane. But while this goes on, Pathogen Glands finally gets invested into. Not sure it's so great to do that now instead of earlier, but whatever. Ghost starting to come out, so he can start sniping the infestors, EMPing the infestors. He's got that transition in case Snute was to get Ultralisks out. I mean, this is looking worse and worse for Snute. Again, he took a really good engagement in. It's like, he beat MajOr back. He's going to win the game, but that's not really how this is playing out. And I'm scared for him, guys. If he can land a couple of good fungal growths, great. But that's a really big if. That's a really big if. For MajOr's case in the game, I do like the Ghost, though. It's not exactly the anti-Ultralisk units that they normally are. But, again, EMPs on those infestors can be invaluable. Snipes on those infestors, removing them before the fight even comes down. Critical. But it's worth noting, fungal growths will interrupt snipe. Any amount of damage, if a Ghost takes any damage at all, it freaks the fuck out. It's like, nope, 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 I can't do this, I can't do this. And you can interrupt snipes with fungal growth, with Lings, with Corsair Files. I mean, anything hits the Ghost and it stops shooting, which is always good to see. Main base starts getting dropped. Truth be told, though, Snute doesn't actually have a lot here that's really worth being scared of. I mean, I guess he's not fully upgraded, so he's not going to have the infestation pits. The evolution chambers, to research if the infestation pit goes down. But at the same time, he's not really relying on 3-3 for damage. He's relying more on the Corsair Files for damage, which is not going to be a problem. This base does get cancelled and rebuilt, so Snute's trying to take a 5th while this goes on. There's no really great place to take this 5th, honestly. Every base is going to be kind of exposed at this stage of the game. Not going to leave a couple roaches behind, though. MajOr is coming up on 3-3. In fact, he's on 3-3, so these drops can be really dangerous and hard to deal with. For Snute, fighting with roaches like this is no longer an option. Once again, keep in mind, he stopped upgrading himself. A lot of that money had to be put elsewhere, but he also didn't have a hive. Now that he's moving towards hive, he's going to have the potential of vipers, which could be really cool to see. Looks like he will defend this. And takes out the medevac. That was nice. 4th base gets killed. No cancel Reno by the looks of it. That's a bit unfortunate. While this goes on, the main push comes down through the middle, and Snute is just spread a little too thin with too few forces. Comes in with the Ravagers to defend, but in doing so might give away some drops. No, the infestors are segmented to make sure those drops don't go off. That's really cool to see. More tanks are built behind this. More tanks are still being produced behind this, and MajOr has at no point revealed that he has ghosts. So Snute doesn't know that there's going to be that extra element to worry about. And, you know, Snute, no disrespect to Snute, guys, but he has constantly and consistently been caught a little bit, I'd say, off guard, out of position, however you want to phrase it, by having the infestors on the front line kind of AFK. We saw them obliterated in that previous engagement. So with not just tanks to look out for, but now ghosts as well, Snute's positioning is going to be so very critical so very important to the way he could possibly take any engagement. He has to make sure not to make any mistakes. And it sounds like I'm being a little bit dramatic by this, but it is very critical. Once again, this one ghost could completely remove 5 infestors if it gets that perfect EMP. If they're not in position, the tanks will snipe them off. This is looking bad for Snute. There's no Broodlords to assist. There's no Ultralists to soak those hits. And even if there were, the Ghost would take care of both. So looking to get some Corrosive Biles. Ghosts go down pretty quick, but they get the EMP on about half the infestors, but the Corrosive Biles lock most of this army in place. We have infestors, or sorry, it was the Fungal Growth locking it in place, but the Corrosive Biles steal the damage. The Medivacs go down. Snute collapses on this, and MajOr, who had an army that looked like it should have been unbeatable, gets beaten back. Now I got a donation that came in while this went on. I'll take a look at that in a second, because that was that was such a sick fight for Snute. It should not have gone down like that. If the ghosts had, if there was no fungal growth there, those ghosts would have reigned supreme. The tanks, the medevacs, everything would have lived. But MajOr's down a bit of trouble. Snute has a massive army lead. He's got these infestors that live. They've still got fungal growth. Keep mixing this up. He's still got fungal growths ready to launch out against MajOr. And this composition, which I am not a fan of, by the way, coming into the late game. This is a mid-game composition, so it's got to be looking towards later game tech. If he wants to stick on this, that's fine. You can make it work. It's just a very difficult composition to make work. I would like to see him add some Vipers into this over Ultralisks, though. I do think if not for Blinding Clouds, a couple Parasitic Bombs peppered on top of the Medivacs could be nice. Less necessary, though, if you can Fungal / Corrosive Bile combo, but Blinding Clouds on top of those tanks would help him a ton. I think the Ultralisk, though, might force out more Ghosts as well. I don't know. We'll see how this gets taken into consideration, but this is such a huge supply lead for Snute right now. Like, this is an insanely large supply lead. I can't see him really messing this up unless he, I don't know, throws a terrible engagement. Now, where is this? I got a donation a few moments ago. I want to go look up. $10. $10 from the best Ginger Gamer. He says, "Hey Riff, I know it isn't much, but I just wanted to say thanks for the years of entertainment I have gotten from your channel. Buddy, $10 is plenty. $10 is lunch, all right? So $10, I thank you kindly for. I mean, guys, don't ever undervalue how much money is worth for streamers. So seriously, thank you so much, sir. That's very kind of you. And I'm glad to hear that you've been enjoying the channel. Honestly, those words are worth more to me than the dollar value of that donation, so thank you so much. But at any rate, MajOr has started to catch up in supply a little bit. This game was looking like it was going to be MajOr's game, for sure. I'm not sure about that anymore. With Chitinous Plating coming out soon, you're going to have Snute with Ultralisks on 3 armor plus Chitinous Plating. He can take those hits. He's going to have to use the Ghosts now, not for EMPs on the Infestors, but he's going to be forced to use them on the Ultralisks. And even then, if he can't use them, not EMPs, the snipes, but even then, he might not be able to snipe Ultralisk if Snute's going to be fungal growthing the Ghosts. Again, keep in mind, damage will interrupt that snipe channel. But while this is on, Snute doesn't really have high ground vision, which is a bit of a problem. EMPs do land on just about everything. He walks into his own Corrosive Biles, though. Oh, Snute! Oh no, he just fucked up that engagement. Sorry, pardon my French, really badly. Not only did he lose all of the Infestors to the snipes on the side, with only one Overseer that got picked off pretty quickly, he had no high ground vision to see the Ghost sitting here waiting. And now this engagement area, this location is so sick for MajOr, he starts dropping while this goes on as well. And Snute, again, he could look towards Ultralisk, but he doesn't have the gas for it right now. He lost so many Infestors to that fight. I mean, this is a base that he needs, sure. Oh, that fungal growth is good, though! He's going to land the Corrosive Biles and annihilate the Bio Army! That was really sick to see, but is that enough to let him push in and through and win this game? He takes a huge engagement, tanks are going to go down, Ghosts are going to fall. But this is still not Snute winning, per se. He's got to really get to the mineral lines and start hitting MajOr where it hurts. And as we see, the tank pickup micro is proven to be good. Oh, except for the oh no! MajOr once again goes from having a great army composition to taking a bad engagement and losing all of that. And now he sits here on a very small amount of gas. He's in the same problem as Snute, where they're both in the late game, and he doesn't have the gas to replace these incredibly important units that he needs to replace. I think if Snute gets 2 Ultralisks out at this point, he probably wins the game. But that's calling it a little bit too soon, because this has been really back and forth for both, and neither player is really on a stable economy or a stable income to say that they can make an army that wins the game. Snute presently has more army supply, But it's, again, not exactly the most effective supply you've ever seen. And unless he takes another base soon, I'm not sure how long he can sustain this. MajOr, of course, can just keep floating command centers around the map. It looks like Snute was going to try and take the top right, but MajOr says, no, that's my base. Here's a planetary fortress. I actually think it's important strategically for Snute to take this base, not because he needs income, but because of the engagement location. We saw just how terrible of a place this was for him to fight moments ago, and we're going to see that happen again. Snute, though, he's got infestors, he's got some fungal growths ready to go, but where's that massive Ravager army? He's got to reconsolidate his forces. Hell, there's queens on the front lines here. I would love to see some overlords come in, though, because once again, we're going to lose the ability to look at graphs. So here's a quick look at the graphs. MajOr's mule count has been just dominating, but Snute has no vision. You can't throw Corsair Gear up here. This is why these overlords have got to come in. He needs to be able to see that high ground. He's got to be able to dodge the potential EMPs. He's got to get the fungal growths off. He's got to get the Ravager shots wherever he can. MajOr's engagement's looking pretty good, but as he gets stuck in, Snute starts surrounding once again. Those corrosive biles come in, but the fungal growths are landing after the corrosive biles miss, so a bit of a, I don't know, wonky engagement to say the least. Both of them are going to walk away from this with not a lot remaining, and for MajOr's sake, this is getting really down to the wire. This base is very important for him. Rifkin never even said the name of the donation. I did! The Best Ginger Gamer! I wasn't just talking about some random guy. That's his name on Twitch. You can see it there below you. Or above you. Oh, man. That's just rude. Come on. Anyways, this is starting to get better for Snute, I would say. But only if he can keep MajOr from mining on this top right base. If this base starts mining, then MajOr starts taking this game under his control once again. And we still, I'm surprised, we still haven't seen the Ultras come out. This might just be tunnel vision from Snute being this far into the game. I can't say an Ultras would auto-win because both players are in late game. They're both 3-3. They're both in game when it comes to tech. But I do think Ultralists are going to be a little bit stronger and a little bit more dangerous than this Roach Ravager composition he's been going with. And I think if a couple of Ultras just roll in on the front lines, they take the hits from those tanks that the Ravagers and the Roaches are getting obliterated by. I mean, goodness sake, we've got +2 weapon damage on the tanks. It's not something you often see. And a chat asking for what the prize pool for this tournament is. It's only $100. It's $100 that I had from Christmas. And I said, you know what? I would rather watch and cast some StarCraft with you guys than, I don't know, spend it on something dumb, like a new coach or something. So, yeah. So things are good, guys. It's a pretty sick matchup, though. And this is only the round of 8. Keep in mind, there's still the semifinals and the grand finals to go through with players like Nerchio, Bly, Tefl, and others still in the tournament. But really, it's, again, I said at the start of this game, I'm going to reiterate it 25 minutes in, I would like to see a MajOr versus Nerchio finals, but at this rate, that might not happen. Snute keeps taking these really good fights when he shouldn't. But MajOr's starting to do something now that I think is a great move, and he's starting to split. He's starting to drop, he's starting to push, he's trying to make sure he's not fighting this one death ball army that Snute seems to be more than capable of dealing with. Again, fungal growths combined with corrosive biles are proven to be a little too hard for MajOr to handle. But if he can start dropping all over the map, beyond styles, Snute might not be able to reply and respond so easily. But I said it earlier, and I still stand by it. The fact that MajOr is mining off of this new base in the top right, the fact that he's got this planetary up and running, makes him look perhaps a little bit better in the game. But both players are kind of tunnel visioning, you know? Snute, who has been stuck on this, I don't know what you want to call it, like mid-tier army. He's invested in the Ultras, but he's not actually made any Ultras. You've got MajOr, who refuses to remake those ghosts, and I don't blame him, but honestly, 1 or 2 EMPs, he got some really sick EMPs, and that's why the engagements got as close as they did. I don't think Tank Marauder is going to do as well without those fungal growths being removed from the equation. If you can't get that EMP off, I mean, just get bad news bears. More infestors are coming out. Top right's got some SCVs pulled with them, because you know what? Like, why not? Fight with everything and fight to the last. He actually doesn't really need SCVs when you think about it at this point, though, because most of what he got is going to be coming from mules. And if he's got less SCVs and less workers, he'll have a bigger army supply, potentially, which could be cool. But no one's really been maxed out in the last 10 minutes of this 25-minute game. And this is a really long game for Legacy. I mean, Legacy, the Heart of the Swarm games, this was average. This is a really long game for Legacy. Bases are mined out, players are getting really desperate for money, and it's getting really stressful on both sides of this. I swear, nobody is happy to be in this late game scenario. It's probably not too well practiced either, but again, both Snute and MajOr are both making mistakes. but they're also both taking good engagements. So it's hard to say who's going to really go through this because nobody's playing this game perfectly, and it's getting all kinds of good messy for the viewer. Bad messy for the players, good messy for the viewers. Unit counting station right now, though, that shows 7 infestors. That's between 10 to 14 fungals, depending on how this goes. You know, I would, there was a strategy a long time ago in the beta I think could be really cool to see in this instance of the game, and that's Hyperflight Rotor Banshees. For those who don't know, Banshees have a speed upgrade that makes them as fast as Oracles, and I think if you really want to get around the map and get around Roach, Ravager, Infestors, I mean, God knows it's hard enough to land fungal growths in the first place, but on Banshees that move that fast might be impossible. And that might be Major's ticket to sniping off some of these outer bases. But that's probably not something a lot of anyone's thinking about, because once again, these players are very talented, but the same problem affects everybody from Bronze League to Grandmasters, where you start getting tunnel vision a little bit later in the game, and you're focused on one thing. So it's, again, Major going for a more death ball-y composition, Snute looking for the anti-death ball composition, not making those Ultralisks, sticking on Ravagers, and relying on fungal growths. But man, oh man. I did not think Prion Terraces of all maps would go this far. And honestly, you guys, if you've been listening to the stream for the last couple months, all you've done is heard me shit on this map and how much I hate it. But I'll tell you what, if players are getting good enough, or bad enough in your point of view, to take the game 28 minutes in on Prion Terraces, because of things like gold bases, I'm cool with it. The only gold bases remaining at this point, by the way, are in the center of the map. So as they continue to expand, no one really has a gold base advantage. But Snute perhaps looking for a base trade rather than a straight-on engagement. Again, really sad that there's no Vipers at all. This bumps me the hell out. I think Snute with Vipers would be unstoppable. I think Snute with a couple Ultralisks would be scary. But I think Snute with Vipers to Blinding Cloud things like these tanks would just be unstoppable. But again, I don't think he's thinking about Vipers. Despite how good they may or may not be, you know, Snute has invested in Hive Tech. He's got the Chitinous Plating for the Ultralisks. Major is even saying, dude, I know you're going to come out with those Vipers. Where are they? So he's going for missile turrets. But Snute's not making Vipers. And this is driving me bananas because Vipers would be so good versus this insanely heavy tank count. Versus Bio in general. But again, far be it from me to question Snute. He is playing this game out at a pace that I could never even dream of playing. Except when he taps out, I guess, 33 APM. What the fuck? There we go, goes for the engagement on those tanks. He is going to take several of them out. The missile turrets buying a couple of shots. He does conquer the high ground. This is very important to note, as this high ground advantage means that Major can't get those free shots anymore. The fungal growth's getting landed on these medevacs, guarantee the Corsair Bile's hitting, and even though Snute hits some of his own units, he takes out most of Major's very important tanks. Now that it's just Bio remaining, fungal growths will dominate. Oh, this medevac's going to go down, and Major can't really afford to replace him at this point. Oh, I take it back. I was looking at the wrong thing. Major's got 2k gas in the bank. Major can replace whatever he wants, but does he have the time to do it? The Roaches and Ravagers are upon his base. This is where you start looking at production instead of income, and it doesn't matter if you've got 10k, 10k. If you can't make any units with that mineral and gas bank, it's not going to matter. And that kind of seems like what's happening to Major right now. Ravager Corp's just kind of doing a bit of a bunny hop. Roaches are going to try and get on top of the tanks, take the last couple of these bad boys out on the low ground, but Snute's army is exhausted. And while I mentioned Major being worried about not being able to make things, Snute is actually in a lot graver danger, and I think Major may have just won this game. Snute has over-dedicated. He has thrown too much away, and I think that might be game. I think that might be game. Snute has almost no money to work with. He's going to tap out, and ladies and gentlemen, in the epic ace match finish, in that third game, 2-1, with 53,000, oh my god, look at the resource lot before I leave the game, 53,000 resources left.